How do you guys feel about the Nintendo DS? The DS is honestly one of my favorite video game systems of all time, and believe it or not, this little catalog here is where it all started. I remember picking this up back in like 2004, 2005 at maybe a Target or a Walmart. I think it was a Target. I got a bunch of different catalogs at Target, and this was one of them. And at the time, I remember not being very excited about the DS at all. Like, I was squarely in the camp of the PSP is going to be the next big thing. The graphics are going to be amazing. Like, Sony can't do anything wrong. Like, the PS2 was just an absolute giant. With all that being said, though, I couldn't wait for the PSP. I wanted a new handheld as soon as possible. I actually never had a GBA except for a Game Boy player on my GameCube. So I wanted a new handheld device. And the DS had just, it came out earlier than the PSP, and I couldn't wait. I wanted it, I got it, and this catalog is one of the reasons why I got it, because it kind of just opened the door to my love and my interest of the DS. And I miss getting catalogs and stuff like this, because it's just a good way to kind of like go back and see what games were coming out. And it's also like great history too, because some of the games that are shown in these catalogs never came out, or they have just completely different names, completely different titles and logos and all that stuff. So it's just cool to look back on. So I mean, let's dive right into this thing. I love the cover here also. They're high quality, shiny DS on there. The original DS design too, it's very nostalgic. It sucks because like the screens are so dark, but I don't know, something about this design still speaks to me today. Like I still really like it. Obviously the DS Lite and like DSi are better, but I kind of like this old DS design. So starting off here, I do like how they start off opening the DS, and then you got this little like screen here. Nintendo dual screen handheld game system. That's interesting that that's in here, because I'm pretty sure, I know there's been a lot of kind of back and forth on what DS really stood for in the Nintendo DS name, and people always said developer system was one way to kind of describe DS, and then obviously dual screen was one way. So I mean, maybe for the gamers out there, dual screen was the right thing. Like I said, these are like high quality like catalogs here. They just gave these out for free at stores. I mean, I don't know how much they cost, but they're killing a lot of trees too. But here you go. You got the classic "Touching is good" slogan. Like one of the best slogans of all time for any sort of video game system. "Touching is good" was amazing. And I remember, I think Nintendo Power was having a kind of a promotion where you could send a picture, or you could request a mannequin doll, like a hand of a mannequin, and they would send you one, and you could take a picture with that mannequin touching thing, for the "Touching is Good" campaign. Such a weird thing to do, but really cool. I think one of my friends has that mannequin hand from Nintendo when they sent it. Got a cool little Nintendo DS thing going on here. This icon's representing touchscreen, obviously. This one could be the microphone. Maybe some PictoChat action here, and then you got down here, got the DS cart and the GBA cart. So obviously you could play both on the original DS. Here we go. It's a little mission statement for the DS. Intuitive, accessible, and loaded with innovative features, the Nintendo DS is designed to give you the most engaging handheld video gaming experience ever. With one touch of the system's interactive lower screen, one glance at the 3D graphics on its upper screen, you'll understand how gaming has reached new heights. Take it anywhere, you'll draw a crowd. I don't know if I would draw a crowd with this thing. It's not, like I said, I like the design, but it's not the most sexy system like anyone's ever seen. So I don't know if I would draw a crowd with this thing, but it still was cool. The touchscreen was new and innovative. The 3D graphics were something we hadn't ever seen really from a handheld device, other than, you know, rudimentary 3D graphics on the GBA and things like that. So kind of it was a nice step up. Obviously the PSP was coming up and was much more powerful, but at the time it was really cool. Obviously got the dual screens and the touch screen. 2 full color wide format backlighted screens give the Nintendo DS the power to change the way you look at and play games. It was so weird though that this DS came out with such weak backlit screens, especially when the Game Boy Micro was coming out and they had the new backlit GBA that had a beautiful screen, much brighter than the DS. So the DS almost immediately felt like it was kind of out of date very soon after it came out with the screens, at least. Like, it still felt new because of all the features, but some of the things that it did was like very questionable. And I think Nintendo did it on purpose, to be honest, so that they could come out with new models like the DS Lite and the DSi and all that. Multiplayer wireless gameplay. Yeah, you could play locally with other friends, and the DS had download play famously. You could kind of you had one copy of a game and you could download like a little like smaller version, like Mario Kart DS. You could download a version from another player, and you would be able to only play a Shy Guy, but you could play basically any track, the full game, with download play. It was such a cool feature, and really only something you could do locally, so it's one thing I miss for sure. And PictoChat. Who could forget PictoChat? This is, honestly, this was ahead of its time. PictoChat was really cool, but it was almost useless because this type of software, you had to be in the same room as whoever else was using PictoChat, basically. So you couldn't really do much, like if you weren't finding other Nintendo DS players out there. Maybe it made more sense in Japan, where things are kind of more, there are more people just in a smaller area in Japan, so maybe it makes more sense there. But you could draw, sketch, write, and send wirelessly with the built-in messaging and communication tool PictoChat. So I think something a lot of people might have done is like just drawn into PictoChat themselves and kind of made like flip books and stuff. I heard stories of people making flip books with PictoChat, but it was still a cool little thing, and I don't think I ever used it, but I would love to hear if anybody out there used it and actually like chatted with random people or anything like that. Like those types of stories always interest me. Here we go. Compatible with Game Boy Advance games. Another huge selling point of the DS, because I think the DS, originally Nintendo wasn't trying to kind of take the Game Boy Advance off the market. The DS was supposed to be its own thing, which is why they didn't give it the Game Boy name. And just in case the DS failed, they would have that backup plan with the Game Boy Advance, because they knew that was popular. They knew people still liked that. They knew the Game Boy name would still bring in a crowd. So, I mean, still cool though, because we got Game Boy Advance compatibility in the DS. In addition to all new 3D rendered Nintendo DS games, you can use the system to play all your favorite Game Boy Advance titles in single player mode. I guess that makes sense. I've never thought about that. And I never remember them advertising DS games only being available I never remember them advertising GBA games only being available in single player mode, but I guess that makes sense because there's no link cable port on the DS to link DSs together, and that was the only way you could do it back then, so that does make sense. I guess that's one drawback to playing GBA games on the Game Boy, on the DS, but still cool that it was there. This page is one that I don't know why I always loved it and I always came back to this page, because this is a 1-to-1 sized image of the DS, and what's cool is they have you flip it up here and you get a full-size picture. I probably flipped it so much I ripped it, but as you can see, 2 bright backlighted screens, rechargeable battery with long life, PictoChat software. They put PictoChat software in really big text. They must have thought that was going to be huge. Built-in clock and calendar, compatible with Game Boy Advance games, dual screen, touch screen, convenient N64 style button layout, multiplayer wireless gameplay, light and durable, sleek silver casing, and crisp stereo sound. You know they tried to, show off every single feature of the DS they could on this page. And, I mean, they got me. They did a good job. Like I said, I love this page for some reason. I always came back to that one. Here we go. I think we're getting into actual DS games here now. Innovation feeds inspiration. The Nintendo DS challenges game developers to create titles that offer the best in graphics, sound, and interactivity. You're not just controlling a game character anymore in most Nintendo DS titles, you're participating at a deeper level. The world of possibilities is endless. So yeah, you get to touch the screen now. That's the deeper level they're talking about. But this is the big thing right here. Span the world of the internet with Wi-Fi. So I had never been an online gamer until the Nintendo DS came out, and I got my first experience of online gaming with Mario Kart DS. I remember getting that game. I remember connecting to Wi-Fi in the apartment when we moved to the new state. I just have so many great memories. I had to learn snaking because obviously if you're playing online, you gotta learn snaking in Mario Kart DS because you can't win without it. But it was so cool to be able to play these games online with no wires, no Ethernet required, wirelessly, and on a handheld. It was like unheard of for me at the time. Play locally or globally with a built-in Wi-Fi and wireless internet connection. Boundaries disappear. Distance is no longer a factor. You can communicate and play with other Nintendo DS owners anytime, anywhere. So another thing Nintendo sold back then was this USB like Wi-Fi adapter that you could connect to any computer, and it would basically create a Wi-Fi access point for you, just based on, I guess, your computer's internet. But I heard some shoddy things about that, but it was cool that they kind of offered that as an option because it's crazy to think about. Not everyone back then had Wi-Fi connection. People were still only using wired internet connections. So, that's something that some people needed. But Animal Crossing was one of those big online titles Nintendo was advertising. And as you can see here, they did not have the Wild World name thought up yet for Animal Crossing. This is still Animal Crossing DS, and they still have the population growing subtitle there from the GameCube. And this art right here is straight up from the GameCube box art as well. So this is still pretty early. Animal Crossing, I believe, came out after Mario Kart DS. And I think Mario Kart DS was one of the first online games from Nintendo, at least, to offer online. So I did play a shit ton of Animal Crossing Wild World though, online and just single player by myself. As they say, Animal Crossing is a way of life. I truly stand by that. And here we go. We got a big lineup of games here. So Metroid Prime Hunters, obviously, if you know me, you know I'm a huge Metroid fan. And honestly, the first Hunt demo that came with the DS was also another reason why I really wanted to get a DS. It's crazy to think about. Metroid Prime Hunter's first Hunt was the pack-in demo for the DS, but that game didn't come out until like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years later. They were obviously working on the online, some of the single player. I don't think they worked too hard on the single player because Metroid Prime Hunters, to be honest, one of my least favorite Metroid games of all time. Could be my least favorite in terms of the single player goes. But it was still super impressive. Like the 3D graphics, that was one of the games to show off the 3D graphics. Still a cool game, big title. WarioWare Touched. This was maybe the second game I ever owned on my system. WarioWare Touched, such a good game. I am absolutely in love with the WarioWare series, and Touched is one of my favorites. They're all really good, but Touched is fantastic. And Mario Kart DS, the quintessential launch game for the DS. Possibly my preferred way of playing Super Mario 64. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but don't at me. I think it is. I think I really prefer this one. There's more stars. I think the characters are cool. Mini games are really fun too. I played the mini games like crazy. And then Advance Wars DS we got here. Advance Wars, it became known as Dual Strike. I don't think they had the name at the time, but yeah, another really, really fantastic game. I remember Advance Wars DS getting just rave reviews. Probably the highest rated DS game early on. Nintendogs. Another just absolutely massive, massive game on the DS. I remember thinking at the time, you know, like, didn't really understand Nintendogs. I wasn't sure what Nintendo was trying to go for here. But then I bought a copy of the game, and I just had so much fun with it. So much fun just hanging out with your puppies and teaching them new tricks and going out and throwing frisbees around. I don't know. It was a lot of fun. I loved it. Really the game that kind of possibly saved the DS early on. This along with New Super Mario Brothers. The DS wasn't actually selling super well early on. But it slowly started to hit its stride with Nintendogs and New Super Mario Brothers, and you know, obviously the rest is history. The DS is the second best-selling video game system of all time, and there is Mario Kart DS with a different logo. That is a completely different logo, kind of aping off Mario Kart Double Dash's logo there, I think. One of the best things about Mario Kart DS was the mission mode. Just absolutely loved the mission mode in this game. The single player I don't think has been topped since Mario Kart DS. Wish they would bring that back, and you know, the only bad thing was really the snaking and people taking advantage of that. But other than that, Mario Kart DS is one of my favorites for sure. Polarium, pretty like simple little puzzle game there, and then Project Code Metroid Pinball. Obviously, this one in the future became known as Metroid Prime Pinball. Very weird that they called it Project Code Metroid Pinball. Not exactly the name that rolls off the tongue very well, but Metroid Prime Pinball, also really great game, and this is the one. This is the game that came bundled in with the Nintendo DS Rumble Pack, which actually quite a few games use, and it works surprisingly well, especially with Metroid Prime Pinball. I'd say Metroid Prime Pinball, the best Metroid game on the DS. And here we go, we got some third parties now. The third parties really, you know, they tried their best. They did their best on this system. I remember really like being intrigued by GoldenEye Rogue Agent because it was a first-person shooter on the DS, similar to Metroid Prime Hunters. But GoldenEye Rogue Agent didn't get the best reviews. I was very close to picking it up, and I'm still kind of curious to this day how this game is. But one of the few first-person shooters on the system early on. Spider-Man 2, I don't know. I don't know if this is good. It looks like it combined some 2D platforming, maybe with some more 3D sections. Yeah, that's what it says. Now, Need for Speed Underground 2, I actually bought this game maybe because of this catalog. Don't remember if it was because of this catalog or if there were reviews out there, but I played the hell out of this Need for Speed game on the DS, and I'll be honest, it wasn't very good, but I don't know, I had some fun. It was certainly much worse than the console variants, but yeah, I don't know what got over me. I just really wanted Need for Speed Underground 2, and I had to pick it up. I don't have it anymore. I sold it off at some point, but would kind of like to get it back just for that nostalgia. I got Madden 2005, back when Nintendo was actually still getting Madden games on their system. Ridge Racer DS, that was kind of cool because I don't think Ridge Racer was really on Nintendo systems before this. I mean, maybe there was an N64 game. I don't remember, but not too many Ridge Racer games on Nintendo systems, so it was kind of cool to see Ridge Racer on the DS, and I remember they tried to really get the touchscreen control in there by using the steering wheel on the touch screen. I don't think you had to use that, but it was just something that they added in there. Rayman DS. Back when it seemed like Rayman 2 was the launch title for like every system. I don't know what was up with that. I guess Ubisoft was just It was an easy game to port, I guess. But I don't really know how this port was of Rayman DS. Would kind of like to see it. It can't be that bad, right? Can't be that bad. Who knows? And it's weird also because they would like Rayman on the 3DS. Is that just called Rayman 3D? They always change the name. Like you didn't actually know it was Rayman 2 unless you looked at the back of the box or like saw some stories, and they're weird. Tiger Woods, that's a golf game. And then Castlevania here. Castlevania, this is Dawn of Sorrow. They didn't have the subtitle yet, but Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, one of my favorite DS games for sure. Absolutely love this game. Beautiful, beautiful sprite work. Great gameplay. It is a sequel to Aria of Sorrow, and you know there was some touchscreen stuff in there that some people didn't like, but it didn't bother me. I love this game so much. It's fantastic, and possibly my favorite Castlevania game on the DS, but they're all really great. Feel the Magic here. I remember Feel the Magic was basically the demo at every GameStop for the DS because it used the touchscreen in weird, unique ways. It used the microphone. So Feel the Magic really was kind of the best game to show off what the DS could do. But I got tired of it because I kept playing it, the demo, at every single GameStop I went to before I bought the DS, and I was like, let me play something new. But yeah, let's see what games they show off here. I don't know if there's anything new over here. It's kind of stuff we've seen. Zookeeper. Is that a Tony Hawk game down there? Not too sure. Yeah. Retro Atari. These retro compilations were pretty popular back then. I don't feel like I see them as much anymore, but they were definitely around during the DS days, PS2, Xbox. I know there's like Sega collections and all that stuff, and I guess there are like Taito collections and other retro collections out there, but I don't know, these kind of like 4-packs or like smaller packs were way more common, especially on the GBA. They had a bunch too. Yoshi Touch and Go. I don't have this game and I haven't really played much of it, but it always seemed kind of like a mobile game. Not that mobile games are bad, but it didn't have as much depth, or not like a breadth of content that you'd expect from kind of a DS game around its launch. I don't think Yoshi Touch and Go was a launch game. I think it came out later, but I would still like to try it to see how it is, but it wasn't one of those games I needed to have. Pokemon Dash, a Pokemon racing game of all things. Don't think it was very well reviewed. Set of 6 Pokemon run and soar through 3 sets of 25 courses in a mad dash to touch Pokeballs. You rub your runner to push it in the right direction. Compatibility with GBA Pokemon titles adds hundreds of additional courses. Okay, did not know about that. That's actually kind of cool that you could kind of pop in that GBA Pokemon cart and get more courses. That's really cool. I would like to actually kind of see how that worked, and if they were like randomly generated courses or if they were all built in there. So yeah, apparently not a very great game, but looks like it has some cool compatibility. And then Mr. Driller, Drill Spirits, really cool little puzzle game. Mr. Driller is always fun. Don't see Mr. Driller much anymore, other than maybe on like the eShop, things like that, but not as often as you used to. Got some more movie license games. Madagascar Robots down here. I was never one to buy any of these like movie license games too often. I think I knew they weren't the best games, so I always stayed away. Pac Picks down here. I think you could draw like a Pac-Man character and go around and get some pellets, eat some ghosts. I don't know. That game always intrigued me, but I never played it. But the Herbs Sims in the City. I've actually heard really good things about the DS version of Herbs Sims in the City, but I was not much of a Sims guy ever. I would play the PC version occasionally. I think I had the GameCube Sims game for a while, but yeah, like I said, not a huge Sims guy. World Championship Poker. If you are a ardent gambler, This game is for you. And Zookeeper, another pretty good puzzle game that we saw a little bit earlier. Just like a fun little match 3 game. I think there was a Zookeeper game on the GBA as well. That may have been Japan only or Europe only, but Zookeeper is pretty fun. And then there's Field of Magic. What do they say about Field of Magic? Stylized hilarity. Sega's masterful touch and voice-controlled collection of performance art-inspired minigames explores just how far a guy will go to get a girl's attention. Running with the bulls and racing grocery carts down steep hills. Okay. Yeah, this was all about like kind of getting the attention of this girl and, you know, trying to make her fall in love with you, woo her into falling in love with you by, you know, running with the bulls. And I remember there was one where you like had to touch the screen and get goldfish out of her stomach or something like that. This game is weird, and they made a sequel called the Rub Rabbits. I don't know. They're weird short games, but they're silly and quirky and fun, and I like them. And then you got Touch Kirby here. What's Touch Kirby? This is obviously Kirby Canvas Curse, and the game is actually still called Touch Kirby in Japan. They never changed the name over there, but it's really, really cool to see that they had a logo all ready to go for North America, and then they went up and changed the name and the logo. I guess I don't think it was last second, but you know, they decided on a new name. So really cool to see that kind of stuff. I love seeing that sort of history in these little catalogs. And Canvas Curse, great game, really unique. They did something new with Kirby. Really cool stuff there. Got some dudes playing DS together. See the Chosen One poster? I believe that's LeBron James. LeBron James has been playing basketball for a really long time, you guys. A really long time. But yeah, anything else like weird, cool in here? Doesn't look like it. A few more games. Asphalt, Urban GT. That's a Game Loft game. I think that actually was a mobile port back when mobile games were on your flip phones and stuff like that. So may have been a decent enough kart racer or like arcade racing game for the DS, but I stayed away from that one. Ultimate card games, more poker, maybe solitaire in there, who knows. Ping Pals, okay. This was one of the lowest rated games I remember on the DS at the time. I don't remember what this game was all about. Customize your own character, collect items, and trade them with your friends in a stylized wireless connection chat room. Okay, I think that's the thing. I think this was basically a glorified version of PictoChat or something like that. So as like a $20 to $30 game, it was a hard sell and like just really, really like strange. A strange game to come out. I can see why it got such bad reviews. Man. Good name though. Ping Pals. Then we got Nanostrate. This game was actually developed by Shinin, who is known for games like Fast RMX nowadays, and they did other games like Jet Rocket. I believe that's what it was called on the Wii. They're really well known for getting as much out of a system as they can. Like the Wii version of Fast RMX, I think it was just called Fast Racing at the time. So incredibly impressive for the Wii, especially when you consider that it was a 40 megabytes. It had to be within the size range of WiiWare games. Crazy. And Nanostrate, pretty cool little shoot 'em up. Nothing special, but still kind of cool. Sprung, another really, really poorly rated game. I think this was like a dating simulator. Yeah, it says dating game right there. Play as a guy or a girl looking for love in a swinging ski resort in 2 separate mission-based stories. Your ability to read into the great dialogue and body language will lead you to great success. Ah, yes, the great success of getting your lady. I don't know if it's bad. I can't say. Never played it. But you know, dating games are kind of like Dating sims are all the rage nowadays. Maybe it was just ahead of its time. Who knows? Texas Hold'em Poker. This seems like a ripoff compared to, like, you know, the other card game one. Ultimate card game. You got a bunch of card games in this one. Just got Texas Hold'em Poker in this one. Why would you buy this? Medios or Medios, however you want to say. This is a Sakurai game. Sakurai actually developed this, and well, he didn't develop it, he directed this game. It's a really, really cool puzzle game. Of course, I know people kind of try to cheese it by just swiping at the touch screen a whole bunch, and you know, I kind of did that myself. Couldn't help it, but it's still a really cool puzzle game, and you know, it's cool to see Sakurai working on stuff other than Smash Brothers all the time. I always love seeing these games that are not Smash Brothers related. And you got some more video, like compilations, Ultimate Brain games. And Puyo Pop Fever. People know about Puyo Puyo now. People love it because of Puyo Puyo Tetris. This was just Puyo Puyo on the DS, not bad. And then the hits keep on coming, like Beautiful Joe, Lost in Blue, Dragon Booster. That's by Konami, I think. I never played that one. Frogger Helmet Havoc. I don't know if that game came out as Frogger Helmet Havoc. It might have been named something different. I don't remember. Yes, okay, so Helmet Havoc, I think, became Frogger Helmet Chaos, at least in the States. That's why I was kind of confused. I was like, I don't remember ever hearing about the game Helmet Havoc, so that's another game that had a name change. Bomberman. I don't think Bomberman on the DS was very good, the original one. And then Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Okay, a weird game to advertise there. But that's it. That's, you know, we touched some paper. Touching is really good. And then they just got a little ender here. They closed the DS. Closed the book on it. There's the back. But yeah, I love these catalogs. I love going through it, reminiscing again, and you know, remember, guys, go out there, touch some stuff, touch some grass. Touching is good.